Today, we're going to look at something really special. It's a 19th century family Bible, but it's so much more than that. This thing was designed to be an entire theological library, all packed into one single volume. We're going to explore exactly how this book was built to guide and really shape its readers' understanding of every single story. First off, just look at this thing. This is the National Comprehensive Family Bible, and you can almost feel the history coming off its ornate, weathered cover. Back in the 19th century, a book like this was a huge investment. It was a centerpiece in the home, meant to be passed down through generations. Its physical presence alone told you this was a big deal in the family's life. But the real mission statement, it's right here on the title page. Check out these phrases, with the commentaries of Scott and Henry, and critical and explanatory notes. That tells you everything right off the bat. You're not just getting scripture, you're getting a fully curated, explained version, all put together by one Reverend John Eady. So you have to ask, why go to all this trouble? Why pack a book that stood on its own for centuries with thousands of extra notes? Well, to figure that out, we got to go straight to the source and listen to the editor himself. And here it is, the preface, written by Dr. Eady. And let me tell you, he does not hold back. He lays out his purpose with total clarity. See, he saw himself as a defender of the faith, especially during a time of massive social and intellectual change. What's so fascinating about this quote is just how urgent he sounds. Eady truly believed that true religion was under attack from all sides. For him, working on this Bible was his way of arming the average family against theological confusion, against misinterpretation. This wasn't some academic project. For him, it was a mission. And this was his solution. These massive commentaries were his tool. They were designed to give one single, authoritative voice that would cut through all the noise. For the family sitting in their parlor, this book made sure that complex ideas weren't just read, they were understood in a very specific, intended way. Okay, so let's see this thing in action. We'll do a little case study to see exactly how these explanatory notes work. We're going to start with one of the most famous stories from Genesis, the Tower of Babel. So here's the page. Up top, in a big, easy-to-read print, you've got the story you probably know. But then, look at the bottom half of the page. It is crammed with tiny print. That's the commentary. That's the built-in explanation that goes along with every verse. This is the key verse, right? This is where the builders lay out their big ambition. They want to build a tower that reaches the heavens, make a name for themselves, and this is important, do it so they don't get scattered across the globe. So this brings up the obvious question. What's the actual sin here? Is it just pride? Is building a tall tower really that bad? The text itself, the main part, doesn't spell it out for you. And boom, right here is where the commentary steps in and clears up any confusion. According to these notes, the main sin wasn't just arrogance. It was a direct act of disobedience. It was ignoring God's earlier command to spread out and fill the earth. See how it works? The commentary connects the dots, provides a definitive answer, problem solved. Okay, now let's turn to one of the most psychologically wrenching and theologically difficult stories in the entire Old Testament. God commanding Abraham to sacrifice his own son, Isaac. The story begins with these absolutely chilling words. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham and said unto him, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and offer him there for a burnt offering. I mean, that is just an unbelievably tough passage to read. And this book does not shy away from the drama. It's filled with these incredibly powerful illustrations. Look at the anguish on Abraham's face, the knife held high. Can you imagine a family reading this by candlelight? This image would have made the story feel terrifyingly real. This is the question, isn't it? The one that hits you right in the gut and has troubled people for centuries. Why would a loving God demand such a brutal, horrifying thing? And once again, the commentary provides the answer. It completely reframes the event. This wasn't about cruelty, it explains. It was a test. The notes call it the trial of Abraham's faith and say the whole purpose was to make him an example of perfect obedience for all time. For the reader, that explanation provides comfort. It gives a clear theological purpose to an otherwise terrifying story. Now, this Bible's guidance was way more than just page-by-page commentary. It was designed to be something so much bigger. It was supposed to be a complete library, all inside a single book. And that's the key. This wasn't just for reading on a Sunday. It was a reference tool, a dictionary, a history book, a whole theological guide.
Let's say you're reading and you come across the word manna, and you're not sure what it is. No problem. You just flip to the back and find a detailed explanation. The whole point was that a family would never need another book to understand their faith.
And this slide just shows that idea in action perfectly. On the left, you've got a normal narrative page from Genesis, just telling the story. And on the right, a page from the Biblical Cyclopedia, which is basically a dense alphabetized dictionary of every person, place, and concept you could think of. This cyclopedia was a game changer. It's like having Wikipedia built right into the back of the book, but, for the 19th century. If you hit a name you didn't know or a concept that was confusing, you didn't need another book. You just flipped to the back. It made the entire Bible a self-contained, self-explaining universe. So the big takeaway here is that reading a book like this was a totally different experience than how we read today. This was not an invitation for you to come up with your own personal interpretation. No, this was a guided tour. The editor and his commentators were your guides on every single page, making absolutely sure you arrived at the correct destination. And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Today, we live in an age of infinite information. We've got 1,000 different interpretations just a click away. How does that compare to this experience, learning from one single, trusted, authoritative source? What have we gained with all our links and tabs? And what, if anything, might we have lost?